Hello, this is Dr. Eric Bricker, and thank you for watching AHealthcareZ. Today's topic is doctors don't disclose pharmaceutical money in research. Now, as point number one says here, researchers are supposed to disclose their conflicts of interest, which is oftentimes abbreviated COI. What does that mean? If they're doing research on a particular drug or a particular diagnostic test or procedure, then if they are receiving payment from the pharmaceutical company or from the med device company or anyone related to the type of research that they're doing, then they need to disclose that because that might be a conflict. Now, if physicians are receiving money for their research, not disclosing that conflict may erode public trust in the research. In other words, maybe the research wasn't unbiased because the researchers, the doctors themselves doing it, they were getting paid, so they might skew the results in a certain direction because of the money they were receiving, either consciously or subconsciously. But regardless, if they're getting paid, it needs to be disclosed. As I've said in previous videos, I'm not here to say whether they should or should not be paid. I'm just saying it should be disclosed. I don't think anybody argues with that. Okay, so there was a fantastic article from the Mayo Clinic Proceedings, which is a peer-reviewed journal from the Mayo Clinic, from November of 2019, so just the end of last year, just a few months ago, where, as I've previously reported in AHealthcareZ, there is what is referred to as the CMS open payments, which reports the money that's paid by pharmaceutical companies and medical device makers to doctors. And the reporting doesn't come from the doctors, the reporting comes from the pharmaceutical manufacturers and the medical device companies themselves. So, the doctors in the journal articles and in the research are supposed to disclose their payments. And then in open payments, the pharmaceutical companies disclose who they're giving the money to. So if you compare those two lists, you can see which physicians are fully disclosing their information and which physicians are not fully disclosing their information. And that's exactly what they did in this study. Now, they looked at the researchers, who, by the way, were not from the United States. They looked at the New England Journal of Medicine, the Journal of the American Medical Association, and the Lancet. And these are the three most prominent medical journals in the world. I mean, to become published in one of these three journals is the equivalent of like doing the halftime show at the Super Bowl or playing Carnegie Hall. I mean, this is a huge deal, and it gives you and your research a tremendous amount of credibility if you're published here. Now, they looked at studies between 2016 and 2018. Now, this requirement for CMS open payments was part of the Sunshine Act, which went into effect in 2013. So in other words, the researchers, they knew that people could go online and look up who was paying them. In other words, if they didn't disclose all of their payments, they could get very easily caught. And that, frankly, is the genius of this study, is that it's so obvious. You have the physicians reporting their payments here, and you have open payments with the actual payments over here, and it's like, you've got the answers to the test. I mean, literally a high school student could do this study. I'm not criticizing the researchers for doing this. I think it's genius. And they looked at the first author and the last author for every single one of these publications during those years. And the first author is usually the lead author, and then the last author is typically the most senior person on the research team, or the leader of the research team. So not only did they look at the most prominent journals, but they looked at the most promising researchers within each study. And what did they find? It is shocking. They found that 80% of the researchers did not disclose some or all of their conflict of interest. Okay, not 8%, not half, almost all. 8 out of 10 did not disclose some or all of their conflict of interest. Now, interestingly, what was the dollar amount of that undisclosed amount? For industry-sponsored studies, so in other words, a pharmaceutical company sponsored a study about their new drug X, and the study was published about drug X. It turns out that the researchers didn't let the journal know that they were getting paid $21,000 by the pharmaceutical company. Now, interestingly, for studies that were not done in regards to a specific drug or medical device, the researchers only didn't report $149, so it was a lot less. So the amount of money that is not disclosed in pharmaceutical and medical device sponsored research is much higher. Now, the conclusion of this article by the authors themselves in Mayo Clinical Proceedings said that, look, this puts into question the scientific impartiality. Is there scientific impartiality? Is it compromised? And if it's compromised, does that then compromise the public's trust in these journals and in their research? And I will just add too, look, open payments has been there for a long time. This has been out there. Like I said, the genius of this study is that it's not hard to do. So I ask all of you, okay, if it's not hard to do, why did the New England Journal of Medicine, JAMA, and the Lancet just verify the author's true conflicts of interest by looking into CMS open payments themselves? They didn't do it. So if anything, in my opinion, the even bigger story here is that these major journals, they can't even police themselves. Now, I'm not here to completely solve this problem today, but this is something that everybody who works in healthcare needs to know about. And thank you for watching AHealthcareZ.